Welcome back to 21 Days to Return to Self-Love. Today, we're talking about self-pleasure. We can't talk about self-love without talking about self-pleasure. The way we physically love ourselves is important. A lot of times we, maybe because of conditioning or society, whatever it is, we think of physical love as something that is primarily between you and another partner. And it has been a miraculous thing in my journey to reprogram that and to recognize the importance of having that relationship with myself. The practice for today is something that has kind of been adapted for me through several different teachers and lessons and courses in developing my own personal self-pleasure practice. We just call it pleasure practice. I think a lot of times if you have what you may consider a pleasure practice, for most people, that's a simple one goal in mind, right? I'm gonna get to orgasm. Whether it's because you're stressed out or because you're turned on or whatever it is, the goal is to get in there and get out of there, right? Let's just get ourselves to the point of orgasm and check that off the list. What's interesting, and I think what my life, both loving myself, but also it impacts my relationships, right? When we learn to truly love ourselves physically, everything else becomes richer. That sex is that life force energy, right? The chemicals that go through your body when you have an orgasm. But also think about maybe if you don't reach orgasm, right? I think we're conditioned to believe that sex is only successful if you reach orgasm, both male and female. And I want to challenge that thought just a little bit. For our self-pleasure practice, I want you to start thinking about it as in the same way that you would with a partner. So, especially in the beginning, right? So think about it as seducing yourself. You want to engage all of your senses rather than just getting in there and getting out of there. I want you to think about it as seducing yourself, as loving on yourself. So what would you do? Maybe you would light candles. You would set the mood with some music. Involve all of your senses. Maybe get some massage oil out. Think about each one of your senses: sight, taste, touch, feel, your hearing, right? So you're gonna consciously set up the mood, right? Including all of those things. And then, and recognize that the goal here isn't necessarily orgasm. We may get to that point, but the goal here is to love on yourself, to seduce yourself, right? Touch is a really important part of this. Also, think about that internal voice. What would you want to hear in that moment if someone was seducing you? So we are really, through this physical practice, loving ourselves in a really very tangible way. The goal isn't just, like I said, to get in and get out and get the orgasm. The goal is to have an experience. So we take our time. If you need to, set a timer, 30 minutes, an hour. This isn't just a quickie in and out, right? This is you're setting time for yourself. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you have a routine or if you have no routine. If self-pleasure is something that you do not practice, I can see this being very uncomfortable. I've shared a little bit before that self-pleasure for me was something that was very uncomfortable. It was something I didn't experience at all. I didn't play around with at all until I was 30 years old. And so to get to the point where I am now, a lot of healing has occurred and a lot of reprogramming. So we have the 5 senses. You're going to set the tone for yourself, and then you're going to take your time. Movement is a good thing to get the kind of tension and negative energy out, right? In some of our, some of the lessons, some of the practices I've done, we do this kind of hip movement, right? To loosen up our hips a little bit, both male and female. This is a thing. We hold that tension in our hips. And then, like I said before, touch is really important. Touch yourself in the way that you would want a partner to touch you, and explore a little bit. One of the things that I've loved about this practice is I've learned more about myself. I've learned areas of my body that maybe I didn't realize were sensitive before, or maybe I didn't realize were considered erogenous zones, right? So play around with that, experiment. On that note, I would encourage you to touch parts of your body that maybe you wouldn't normally touch in a self-pleasure practice. Don't start straight on the, typical erogenous zones, right? Don't go straight for the genitals. Be very conscious about touching every part of your body. Another thing we can do is heart opening exercises, right? A practice that I love is just a simple breast massage, right? And so if we go up from the middle and then down, that is a releasing, right? So we are releasing this way. The other component to this is mental. A huge breakthrough occurred for me when I realized that my fantasies, or what was going on in my head during this self-pleasure practice, didn't have to be about some other person. I'm one of those people who, I'm very auditory, and so even in my own self-pleasure practice, I hear the voice of a partner. And again, I've talked about this before a little bit, I think on my Instagram, but it was a huge breakthrough for me when I heard a voice that wasn't a partner. One of my favorite lessons in this whole journey was a pleasure practice, was a class, and it was an hour and a half long, and the whole premise of it was recognizing that masculine and feminine within us. So each of us has masculine and feminine within us. And we've talked about this through the 21-day journey, right? Especially the jagged edges, right? That this correlates to that really well. But if you consider that you have a masculine and feminine within you, for your own pleasure practice, I've found it really beneficial to start in my head with a fantasy about my own divine masculine. That might sound funny. I'll just walk you through it simply. I'm sitting in a restaurant or at a bar. My ideal man. And it's not a man I've met. And not because I don't have an ideal man in my life, but because it's important that this is a tangible, or this is a vision that isn't connected to someone that you know. This is you. This is the masculine or feminine, depending on if you're male or female, or how you identify, or what you're attracted to, right? Representation of you. And then follow that fantasy out. What do they look like? What would you want to hear from them? and follow that fantasy all the way through your self-pleasure practice. For me, it was that realization was so pivotal in my own self-pleasure practice and my own self-love journey. Again, this may be something that feels a little bit uncomfortable at first, but I really want to encourage you to take some time and love yourself. Your self-pleasure practice, your own loving of yourself in a physical way will impact your life tremendously. So obviously that is the practice for today. I hope that you are able to take some time, and if not today, do it tomorrow or in the next few days. But really set the intention, give yourself time, go slow, involve all of your senses, and consciously have that vision of your own masculine and feminine, and make love to yourself in that way. I know this may be a little bit foreign. I ask that you just trust me and try it. And I will be sharing more of this. I plan on doing a masterclass on this, but here's a little taste for you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.